Welcome back to Reading Bear. Today, we will take a look at some new malicious compliance stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
The first one is titled, Refuse to Leave at Closing Time Like We Ask? Get locked in. I used to work at a drive-up storage facility. We had pretty cheap prices and a few deals, so we got three types of people renting: normal people, business people, homeless, jobless people who try to live out of the storage units and stay in the facility most of the day, rearranging their storage units so they had an excuse to stay. Now our story begins with the normal people. Unfortunately, most normal people are normal, as you would think. They are moving, need a place to store stuff. Most of the time they aren't happy with moving, and that makes sense. I try to be patient and kind. One facility rule the owners had me enforce was that we need to kick everyone out of the facility at 8 sharp. No exceptions. The office closes before then, and my job was to drive back at 8 every night and check the whole facility. By the way, I'm not on the clock for time. I'm supposed to just do a security check. Enter a family with an older lady and her daughter renting a unit. They were easy to work with. I respect elders a lot, so I usually try to be extra friendly to older people. Move-in day. They had a big old truck full of stuff. It looked like a lot of stuff was gonna be stacked in the unit. Of course, when I come back later that night, they are still there unloading stuff. They had a bunch of guys helping them. I drive up and remind them of the rules. They must be out by 8. But we are almost done, we can get more in, just need a few minutes. With previous experience, I knew how this was gonna go. I repeated the rules and told them they also signed a contract that they'd obey these rules, but I said I'd check the rest of the facility first so they could wrap up. They said thank you. I finish and drive to the front, and of course, they aren't there. I get out of my car and walk over to them. And they are still going strong unloading. So I decided to pressure a little and walk over and let them know once again the facility is closed. I stand next to them for 30 minutes. They finally decide they aren't gonna finish tonight and pack up. 50 minutes after the facility closed, I let them out of the locked gate and went home at 9. Now my boss caught wind of this. My boss was a real stickler for rules and stuff. He kinda had a notion that people would follow contract rules if they were enforced. But I knew people would just push our limits. My boss told me that we needed to keep the gate locked after closing time, and we can't have people staying late. I didn't want to stay that late either. The next day they came back. Late. They got there as the office was closing in the evening to continue unloading. I really hoped they got the message the first time, but lo and behold, when I came for the security check, they were there unloading what seemed to be a new load. I wasn't as patient with them this time. I wasn't rude, but I was definitely being more blunt with how I talked to them. I let them know again that they needed to leave immediately. Okay, we are just finishing up. I had heard that one before. This time I circled the unit block they were at, and every time I passed I let them know I was done with the rest of the facility. They seemed to get the picture, but the clock still was ticking, and by the time they closed the unit and I tailgated their truck out of there, it had already been another 40 minutes past. I was tired of getting lectured by my boss on how we needed to enforce these rules. For some reason, he had a mindset that I was letting them stay and being nice. No. The first time I was nice. But I wasn't letting them stay, and I can't physically force these people out. MC time, baby. The third day they were finishing the unloading. While on site I saw them and went up to them and just gave them a pass by a reminder that they need to wrap up before 8. Later that night I check and yep, they are still there. I'm getting a bit peeved at this point, so I check the facility quickly, then I decide to drive out. The front gate has a code lock that denies codes after 8:10. Yeah, there was even a grace period. Since they had me let them out every time they didn't know their code wouldn't work. At least since they didn't seem to know the rules, they definitely didn't read that in bold highlighted in our contract. So as per my boss's order, I left the gate locked and left. I lived close, so I went home. Got a snack. Watched a couple shows, then about 9:40 went back to the facility to find them stuck at the gate. They were not happy, but as I let them out I said to them, the facility closes at 8 sharp and this gate locks, we aren't always around to let you out, that's why we post the closed times everywhere, a lie since I checked it every day, but I didn't want them to think they could get away with it anymore. They just angrily left, but I didn't have a problem with them again. I do feel bad for that older lady, but I don't know, they just weren't listening. The next one is titled, Want all employees to thoroughly wash their hands? They will, but they'll go back to work later. I work as a quality manager at a vegetable growing and packing farm. We are considered an essential business as we grow and pack food, so we have been working throughout the pandemic, just with much more strict hygiene protocols as you could imagine. Part of my job is to make sure that food handling and hygiene practices are followed. So once the pandemic hit, I made it my mission to ensure everyone was following the hand washing and sanitizing procedures correctly. I posted several signs around the sheds giving instructions about what is required and also some tips to help stop the spread. One of these was a generic sign that gave instructions on how to wash your hands. It advised people to wash their hands for 20 seconds or so, or as long as it took you to sing the full alphabet in your head. This is standard practice in the food industry. There were several other rules put in place as well, the wearing of gloves, keeping 1.5 meters apart, sanitizing hands after touching your face, door handles, pallet jacks, forklift steering wheels, etc. I did my best to be accommodating by placing boxes of gloves and hand sanitizer units everywhere so people didn't have to get behind in their work to do what I need them to. Everyone was really good at following the extra rules and was really understanding, except for one of the shed supervisors. He would never wear gloves, was constantly in and out of a forklift without sanitizing, and I'm positive that he wouldn't wash his hands after using the toilet, impossible to tell for sure, but he never left there with a paper towel in his hands drying his hands off like everyone else. This is disgusting at the best of times, let alone at a food packing facility, not to mention during a pandemic. Whenever I pressed him about it, he would say he didn't have time to sanitize. There's a bottle of it right there on each forklift. Couldn't find his gloves, there were dozens of boxes of them. And even tried to tell me that he doesn't use the toilet during the day. When I asked him what he was doing in there, he would just deny being in there and say that he only uses the toilet twice a day, both times at home. He bragged about it as if it was some great achievement. I ended up going over his head and emailed the boss and the owner about it all and asked if they could please sit with him and talk to him about it. He was a supervisor, these were easy rules to follow, and everyone else was doing it, so he has to as well. Both of them agreed and told me they would sort it out. The following day I could see him from a distance following all the rules properly, so I was happy. The system worked. But being the childish man he was giving me the cold shoulder and silent treatment. He was obviously not happy that I went to the bosses about him and got him in trouble. But I didn't care, that's my literal job and I'd do it again. Fast forward a week and I come into work this morning to see all these new signs posted all over the place. All generic, stop the spread, signs from government websites telling people to be hygienic, keep their distance, stay home if sick, etc. All that stuff we've been hearing for a while now. There was also a new sign at the hand washing station that gave a really long and detailed instruction for people to wash their hands, stating that the process should take 60 seconds. I asked around and found out it was my mate the supervisor who put them up. They should have been put up ages ago, he says. If the government comes here and sees we don't have them up, we'll all be in trouble. I pointed out that there are already signs up all over the place and have been for months. He says that they're not good enough and that his are better. I didn't say a word, but then he said what I was hoping he'd say. If you're going to pick on me for this crap, then you need to make sure everyone follows all the rules properly. Now, this guy is not my superior, but he has a massive ego and probably thinks he's second in charge of the whole place or something. I certainly didn't want to argue about it, so I just assured him that I'd do exactly that. You may have guessed where this is going, but it's also worth pointing out that other than the sinks in the toilets, we only have one hand washing sink. We are out on a farm site in a rural area, so clean potable water is scarce. We only have so much pressure available and most of it goes to the vegetable washing sprays, so that's all we have for the time being. Next lunch break, I stood by the sink as the workers were about to head back in again. The first person hopped up to wash their hands and did a good job knowing that I was watching, but they only washed for 20 seconds or so. So I told them that they have to wash for the full 60 seconds as per the new sign. They were a bit dumbfounded to start with, so I pointed to the sign and the part where it said 60 seconds. Then I told them that their supervisor wants them to do it this way and he wanted me to make sure you all do it right. So he stood there at the sink and washed his hands for a full minute, rinsed, and dried off before the next person came to do theirs. It wasn't long before everyone started chatting about how they're going to be late going back to work. I assured them that they're entitled to their full meal break, so take your time, wash your hands for 60 seconds, and if you're late then you're late. There were 14 people in total that had to wash their hands. Everyone took their sweet time and the whole ordeal lasted around 20 minutes. It was incredibly boring to watch, but oh so satisfying. The cool part is that the shed cannot restart if they're a person short. Everyone has to be back and in position before the machines can start back up again, otherwise things jam up and it creates massive problems. The supervisor didn't even notice. I have no idea where he even was during all of this. But the shed didn't restart until about 20 minutes after it should have. So for their next meal break, I did it all again. People were well clued on for round 2 and most people just sat in their chairs on their phones rather than queuing up for the sink. This time around the supervisor noticed. We were about 5 minutes late when he came out, saw half of his workers sitting on their phones when they were meant to be back at work already, and asked what the hell everyone is doing. I calmly explained that they are washing their hands for a full 60 seconds just like in the sign you put up. He shook his head and went on about how this is ridiculous and they should have been back to work already. I told him I agree, but I was just doing as he told me. He then tried to say that if they're going to do this then they need to wash their hands in their time, not company time. So I announced to those remaining, "Hear that, guys? He reckons you don't deserve your full break and that you should give half of it up to wash your hands." As soon as I said this, he just stormed off muttering under his breath. I stayed there and made sure the last half of the workers did the full minute of hand washing and the shed went back to work late. They lost a full 40 or so minutes of production today and that will be very noticeable on the costing report. I just hope he tries to blame it all on me. I look forward to telling the boss that not only was this all his own doing, but he somehow didn't even notice that everyone was 20 minutes late after their first meal break. Good luck explaining that one. The next one is titled, The Coffee Machine. Okay, hope you don't mind which one. So this one happened just a few days ago in my own home and my partner's ability to do malicious compliance in real life cracks me up. So I wanted to share this one. For Christmas, I got my partner a Keurig. He's an avid coffee drinker and before this he had a Tassimo. But for personal reasons we live in my mother's crowded house and the Tassimo, while brand new when opened, came pretty much broken. But it's all he had access to and it's all we could afford. The thing can't run without making a ton of noise. But I know my house too well and can honestly tell you no one takes care of anything. Everyone uses my stuff and constantly breaks it or wrecks it in some way and are woefully unapologetic about it. I'm just used to it. But when I spent all this money on the Keurig I wanted it just for my partner, since my mother said no one else drinks coffee in the house. She wasn't really wrong. They, for the most part, drink barely anything caffeinated. However recently, since the Keurig is left in the kitchen, we've both come to realize that they had intentions of using the Keurig without our permission. Not that we would normally mind, but in the last 2 weeks alone about 3 things of mine have been broken. We weren't taking that risk and moved it down to my room. It has produced no smell and was making no fuss. But, while out the other day, I received a text questioning where the coffee machine went. I know she's not that clueless because she's talked to me about the Keurig before. When she was considering buying him one for Christmas. She just tried to play dumb so I wouldn't know she wanted it upstairs for them to use it. When I told her it was downstairs for convenience she went off. It all boiled down to, it can't be downstairs in your room because I said so, and to make it look like it wasn't about using the machine she even threw in some stuff about moving out if we wanted to live like we had our own apartment and whatnot. I was livid. My partner however determined that he wasn't going to let them use whatever Keurig pods they bought and didn't want to tell us they had, so my partner brought his old Tassimo back upstairs. The look on my mum and her fiancé's face was priceless. They looked so annoyed and wouldn't even speak to us nor say a word. They won't dare ask why the Keurig isn't upstairs. It's been about 2 days since then. And my mother still shoots us daggers whenever my partner makes coffee. The next one is titled, Wife Asked for the Largest Bottle of Water, You Got It. A few years ago my wife and I were out and about on a hot summer day. My old work truck has no AC, so when we stopped to get gas I asked my wife if she wanted something to drink. She tells me to grab the largest water they have, just make sure it's cold. She frequently gets Fiji bottles that are a liter, so this was no surprise. This particular gas station is in a small town and has liquor and a larger selection of drinks and a few groceries as well. On the bottom shelf of the water cooler I find gallon jugs of Ice Mountain water, perfect. I grab myself some sweet tea, check out, and walk back to the truck. I walk up with a huge, corny smile on my face and set the jug on the seat. She didn't seem as enthused about it as I was at first. I should have known better, she says after taking a sip and shaking her head while rolling her eyes. The next one is titled, Make It Hotter. I worked at a Starbucks when I was younger and a young woman ordered a drink extra hot. She made the biggest scene about how it should be hot. How it is never hot enough. Normal drink temperature was 165 F. We could only serve something up to 180 F. Occasionally we would heat to 190 F. Milk quality degrades above 175 F. I made the drink to 180 and put it on the bar. She was nowhere in sight and had gone with her date into Chapters. By the time she came back the drink was at about 160 and she complained about it not being hot enough and that I needed to do it again. So I made another one at 190, put it on the bar, and again she was off with her date in Chapters and she let it cool down on the bar. I checked that one and it was at 175. When she came back she gave me an earful about how I'm not even trying and why can't I make a drink hot enough. Again she went back to Chapters but I could still see her. So I made a drink at 195, which is basically disgusting milk and way too hot. I put it on the bar and called it out, realizing that she was relatively close. She picked it up quickly this time and took a sip. Or duck, that is way too hot. Her and the boyfriend just took it and left. Next day I got called into the boss's office. Customer complained that the drink was too hot. Said it ruined her date. Boss asked how hot I served it and I told her because I don't lie. I told her that I had made escalating temperatures and remade it several times. I got written up for that and was told that it would prevent me from being rehired. What I was supposed to do was continue remaking it over and over at 180 F until the customer gave up. The next one is titled, Lab Manager Doesn't Want to Pay for Lab Support, so they get what they pay for. I work in a large company where there are many separate buckets of money. I was transferred from being a core embedded member of lab staff to a specific high-profile project. But I have been continuing to train and assist in the lab test environment since I have years of experience, and it usually is only an hour or two of my day so that people can be productive and achieve their objectives over 12 hours. Today the lab manager told me I couldn't bill the time I helped to the lab anymore because he can only support the core staff. Okay, fine. Don't want to pay me, you don't get my efforts. A few times today, people came to ask me for help. I felt bad because I really wanted to help and knew right away what the solution was and that it would take less than 10 minutes of my time to save them hours of theirs. But I need to be paid, and I have billable hours from my current project. I'm pretty sure there's some ethics violation to not charge for work or charge another project for time that you spend supporting other efforts. Sorry, I can't help until I have a charge number. I wouldn't even answer as consulting or guidance. Nothing until I have a charge number. Finally, one team was desperate after hours of not getting results and only an hour left on their 5 hours of scheduled use of the test assets with a large support team and moving parts and not having a thing to show for it. Fine, I have a charge number you can use. Whatever you need. Just get it working. We can't afford to come back and redo this before it's due. Literally 2 clicks, multiple people trying to document what I did. It's like trying to write instructions on how to hit a layup. Until they've done it a million times so they know the timing, they just can't nail the buckets like me. So until then, if they want it done, they know they're going to have pay me to do it. The last one is titled, Nutrition Course asked me to write a detailed story from the POV of a chicken sandwich being eaten. My nutrition course asked me to write a short story from the point of view of a chicken sandwich being eaten. They specifically asked it to be detailed about the journey through the digestive system, so I made this. They asked for detail, so I gave them detail. No. I think as his fat, greasy sausage fingers lifted me off of the wrapper, towards his nasty, crusty mouth. His yellowed cheeklets sunk into me, and tore off a bit. He smacked his lips as he crushed that chunk of me and added his saliva, turning me into a slimy mush. Next thing I knew, I was sliding down this man's gullet, down his esophagus, and into his stomach. I'm broken down by this bitter, stinging acid, turning me into even slimier mush called chyme. The protein of my chicken is disintegrated into peptides. Next I slip further down the GI tract, into the small intestine, where I'm broken down even more. And then these tiny, worm-like tethers, called villi and microvilli, start to absorb me. All my monosaccharides, amino acids, and fatty acids disappear before my eyes. I accept my fate, and become one with the fat. As I slide further, I feel dehydrated. There's bacteria having a battle within me. I am wasting away. Soon enough, I feel some pressure, and there's a burst of bright light as I am returned to the outside world. I land in a nice refreshing pool, which, may I add, has the worst view. After a while, the cow of a man gets up. Then there's a whirlpool, and I am suddenly plunged back into darkness. I showed my instructor. She was excited to read it since she was my teacher for creative writing and she always liked my stories. As she read it, her smile faded. When she finished reading, she looked at me with the most disgusted and disturbed look on her face. Me and my friends were laughing our butts off. Edit, I feel that I should clarify a couple things. 1. My instructors don't make most of the lessons for my classes. I work in an online-only program, so we mostly use an education website with professionally made lessons. They have access to my lessons and answers though. 2. The lesson was expecting a bland, blunt description of the digestive system using what I had learned so far, which isn't much because of severe medical issues later last year. It gave a sample answer after I submitted mine. It was just regurgitated information from the lesson, written in first-person POV, with no creativity at all. Thanks for listening.